I think we're live. We were having some issues here at the beginning while we started the stream, so hopefully everything's okay. We'll keep an eye on it as I usually do for the first couple of minutes here of the stream. But usually I don't get this error here that's on the page, so hopefully it goes away. Everything looks smooth though on my stream page here, so yeah, I don't know. This is kind of odd, but hopefully we'll roll with it. Hopefully it goes away and fixes itself here. It does say, yeah, it still says the same error stuff, but the stream looks perfectly fine to me on the page. So anyways, we'll roll with it, I guess. I'm not sure what else to really do. Looks fine on my end, but definitely if anybody's watching, definitely let me know, and we'll see if it's good or not, I guess. But anyways, so we're testing the audio here. Looks good on my end, so that's all good. And yeah, so I did just do Let's Talk Television just a few days ago, our last episode here, and hopefully this doesn't lag the stream at all too much. I was just doing this. Yeah, I'm not sure what has happened exactly to this stuff. Yeah, still says there's an error with the stream, but anyways, we'll have to see. I guess I could check here just really quick on the phone just to make sure that it's all good here with the stream. Just to make sure. Yeah, looks perfectly fine. So, yeah, looks perfectly fine to me. So hopefully the error message there is just incorrect or something like that. I'm not sure, but anyways, all right. So let's go with things here. The stream looks good on my end, so hopefully everything is all right. All right. So we just did a Let's Talk Television episode live show here a few days ago now. I think it was on Monday, and tonight's Friday night. So yeah, it's I've been doing these like almost bi-weekly, but there are two big news topics and then a few others I'm going to talk about as well. But a couple big news topics that I had to get on and discuss because I think both of them are pretty big and pretty topical as well. So I wanted to hopefully share my thoughts, on these two topics, because they've happened. I mean, basically both happened today, right? Yeah, essentially both happened today earlier. The news was released on both of these things. And so I wanted to share my thoughts as quickly as possible. So I figured there's definitely enough to talk about here with Let's Talk Television. I have not checked out any shows, right, since the last episode. So I won't be talking about any, episodes or, doing any reviews for the stuff I've seen. Nothing like that, unfortunately. And in terms of a main topic, it kind of just is a news roundup of these topics that I've already mentioned. The one is that Daryl Dixon, season 4 is coming, but it will be the final season. So essentially the news that Daryl Dixon is ending, right? The other one is, of course, our first look, our teaser, and then some information and pictures about Vince Gilligan's new show on Apple TV Plus titled Pluribus is the title of it. So definitely both those I really wanted to get into. So it'll be those two mainly will be our kind of main focus. And then I'll get to some of these other, stories, a couple other ones here that I thought were definitely still worth discussing, still worth highlighting. So we'll get to those as well. So anyways, it'll just be kind of a news roundup type of episode here. Definitely, if you have any, thoughts on any of the stuff I'm talking about, obviously, feel free to chime in as well in the chat. I'll try to keep looking at the chat. That's kind of been one of my issues in the past is that I haven't been able to, keep up with the chat, and then sometimes I miss messages and that stuff. But hopefully we'll be keeping up with it, and it'll work out. So hopefully this doesn't lag too much. I'm just getting the chat up here so that I can see it regularly, and everything looks to be good there for sure. All right, so let's get into then our first story here, basically, our kind of main topic of this week's episode. So like I said, no shows to discuss off the top here like I usually do. But next week, Chief of War with Jason Momoa, his new series is coming out. And then I think it's about a week after that, we have Alien Earth, the premiere for the new Alien show by Noah Hawley. Really looking forward to, well, specifically Alien Earth, but also Chief of War. I talked about the trailer just a few days ago on my last episode, and it looks really good. So excited for those. So next episode of Let's Talk Television, definitely I will be diving into probably both those shows, but definitely Chief of War. The first few episodes, give my review of it, talking about it, and we'll definitely dive into that. So anyways, with that, this week, our big story here, and this comes from Variety. Of course, all these articles are linked in the description below if you want to follow along. So from Variety here, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is renewed for fourth, and the key here is final season, right? So this is pretty big news. Now, some people could say this was kind of the plan all along. I've seen some people maybe trying to downplay this news, or, these spinoffs weren't supposed to, go on, that long. 3 or 4 seasons was kind of what we thought. I think the ones who live, kind of the feeling around it was like, okay, maybe 2, maybe 3 seasons of that, right? That was kind of the expectation, but at least 2, right? Somewhere in that 2 to 3 range. Of course, it only ended up being 6 episodes, and that's all we got from it. But then these spinoffs too, I think some people, kind of assumed, okay, 3 to 4 seasons of it sounds pretty good. But the thing is here that, and I think that's a fair argument, right? That's a fair argument, but I do think that's a little downplaying this because of the way that AMC has talked about these spinoffs, the success of them in terms of the viewership and the numbers that AMC Plus has generated as a result, right? All this stuff that they talked about, it's not like, the way that they're talking about it, even the original series, right? I mean, you could see, if you looked at the ratings for the original series, of course they, migrated a lot to AMC Plus in the later seasons, and so it definitely skewed the numbers. But still, the ratings, the viewership was significantly lower, and it was getting to, like, I don't want to say embarrassing, but, it was really low levels. At points, I think it was season 10 and 11, mainly season 10, I think, where these ratings were just, like, unbelievably low for the way that, just 2 or 3 seasons before, Walking Dead was the biggest, and is still among the biggest, premieres for a, scripted drama series, with the season 7 premiere and the season 5 premiere, both at around 17 or 18 million live viewers on AMC. So, crazy stuff. And then the other ratings were down, I want to say around like 3 or something, around that range, or maybe even down to the 2 range for the later seasons of the show. So that's what I'm saying. So in that way, it's like, okay, you saw kind of a little bit of the writing on the wall there. Of course, the comic, arc that they were kind of getting to the end of anyways. And so that all kind of made sense, right, to wrap up the original show. But in this way, you haven't really seen that for Daryl Dixon and Dead City. In fact, even Dead City, I think it was season 2, right, that they were just saying that they were really impressed with the ratings, and it was like the highest viewed show on AMC Plus yet. Something like that I remember seeing. So, and the same with Daryl Dixon season 2. I thought there was subjectively, my opinion, I thought there was a lot of buzz around Daryl Dixon season 2. Season 3, it looks like, the trailer I think just dropped as well today. Seemed like a lot of buzz around that. So it's not like these shows are kind of at the end of their run and the ratings are low and, the kind of writings on the wall. That's really not the situation here. At least I don't think, right? Just from what we've heard. So to me, this is kind of big news. I don't think that we, need to or should downplay it like I've seen. So anyways, it's been renewed for a 4th and final season. It was announced during the show's San Diego Comic-Con panel on Friday. So a lot of big news comes out of Comic-Con, right? Of course, as Walking Dead fans, we remember the Andrew Lincoln, huge kind of bombshell news that he was leaving the show was at Comic-Con. And I wonder how many years ago that was. I mean, probably, I think 7. I want to say it was in 2018, right? So maybe 7, maybe even 8 years ago that was. So that's insane, right? Production on the 8-episode Season 4 will begin this month in Spain. It will film in and around Madrid in locations like Bilbao, Galicia, I'm probably mispronouncing these, right? But Andalusia and the Segovia region, Toledo, and more. So Norman Reedus said, Daryl Dixon has been an incredible journey. I thank each and every fan who has joined us on this ride. It's been a privilege to build this story for these characters, and we have so much gratitude for how it's been embraced. Your love and support have made every moment worth it. This finale isn't just an ending, it's a celebration of what we've all shared together. Keep carrying that love forward. Daryl's journey is far from over. So that is an interesting little comment there at the end of it. And of course, this is what I want to dive into in a minute here when we finish up some more of the stuff from the article, right? So Melissa McBride says, "It's been a thrill of a lifetime to shoot this part of Daryl and Carol's adventure in Europe, and I keep going back for more of these two characters. There's still so much story left to tell and so much for the fans to look forward to. I'm going to revel in the moments as they come, and I'm excited for the fans to see what we've been working on in these incredible locations." Season 3 of Daryl Dixon premieres on September 7th. I just did a video recently on the channel discussing what we can expect for Season 3, including, obviously, the premiere date, and then, what we can see in terms of, like, the plot and the characters, the new cast, and everything like that. So they say it tracks Carol and Daryl as they continue their journey towards home and the ones they love. And then, they discover obstacles and they have to overcome them, right? That kind of thing is the rest of that. So, so the cast is here as well. Again, check out that video that I talk about, what to expect, because I go over all the cast members there. So I'm not going to repeat that again. And then, of course, it says, that David Zabel, right, the showrunner, is back for Season 3. So, and then also in this article, again, if you want to check it out on Variety, it does have the trailer, which I believe would just drop today. I think it's like the Comic-Con, release that they just dropped the Season 3 trailer for Daryl Dixon. So, and I thought it was good. I thought the trailer was good. I think all the trailers have been pretty good for the seasons. And then, I thought Season 2 was pretty disappointing, obviously. So, you never know with the trailer. But I did think it was good. I think it was cool. Some new locations, they do look cool. It does look similar to France, though, right? Like, there's a big difference between the U.S. and France. But the difference between France and maybe this is an ignorant person, obviously, if you live there, you would disagree with this, but take it with a grain of salt. As a person from North America, the difference between the U.S. and France, and then France and Spain, it's two different things, right? It's a significant difference between U.S. and France, and then France and Spain, most of these locations look somewhat similar, at least, right? So anyways, it should be cool, though, nonetheless, to see these new locations. See what, they have up their sleeves for Season 3 of Daryl Dixon. So, interesting. So, let's go into, the comments here. So, Norman Reedus says, Daryl's journey is far from over. Okay. Melissa McBride then says that she says there's still so much story left to tell and so much for the fans to look forward to. So, I'm not sure if this is, I guess her comments could more be about, Season 3 and 4, right? So there's 2 more seasons of the show. There's so much story left to tell in those 2 seasons, and the fans have a lot to look forward to, in those 2 seasons, right? And then, of course, Norman Reedus' comments, Daryl's journey is far from over. Does that mean he's talking about Season 3 and 4 again, right? Like Melissa McBride? Is that what they're talking about? Or are they really talking about, no, his journey is far from over at the end of the 4th season of the spin-off series? So that's an interesting thing to look at. Again, I'm not sure. Obviously, I think that they wouldn't mind if it obviously hinted at something more than just the next 2 seasons, because obviously all of us fans, right when we hear the news that it's ending, what's next, right? I think that's kind of our next thought is, okay, what's next here? Is this it for Daryl Dixon? Is this the last we're ever going to see of this character, or at least Norman Reedus playing that character? Of course, because who knows? We might get a Walking Dead reboot in 10 years, like every other show has had now. So, anyways, interesting quotes. But to me, this really does signal the end of an era for The Walking Dead. I guess this kind of after, like, secondary era, after the original show has ended, because personally, I'm not sure I see another season for Dead City. I think, especially the way that they ended Fear, the way that they ended, the original series, they all tried to kind of, keep them around the same time, right? I think that was the same year for Fear in the original series there that ended, or it may have just been, maybe not the same calendar year, but within a few months of each other, right? So I can see them doing the same thing here. I don't think Dead City is going to get another year and then surpass Daryl Dixon somehow and like still have it running while Daryl Dixon is already over. So to me, next year, 2026, is going to be the end of these spin-offs. With Dead City Season 3 that will premiere and probably come to an end. Of course, I guess they haven't really, announced that Season 3 is going to be the last season. So I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong, but it really doesn't feel like we're going to get another season of Dead City after this. Daryl Dixon now is confirmed that the fourth season will be the last, and that'll be coming next year. So 2026, by the end of that year, we're most likely going to be at the end of these spin-offs, because the ones who live, by all accounts, I mean, there was like a slim chance that they said at the end of it that they're going to come back, but I don't think they're coming back, right? So the ones who live is done. These two are done. What's next? Like, what's next for the Walking Dead universe? And I did a video talking about this recently on the channel about kind of the uncertain future of the universe. Like, what is next here after these spin-offs? And I kind of voiced my concern of saying, like, okay, maybe it's time to kind of wrap things up here, right? And so to me, I actually think this is kind of good news, right? Like, yeah, I'm probably going to be there for Daryl Dixon Season 3. I had my problems with Season 2 of Dead City. Obviously, I had problems with Daryl Dixon Season 2. But, like, yeah, I'll probably be there. At least I'm going to check out the premiere of Season 3 of Daryl Dixon. But I think it's kind of good news, to be honest, because this to me is getting a little old, right? The spin-offs that they're doing right now, the approach that they're taking to the universe. And with this news, it's like, okay, there's an end in sight. The kind of the plans you can see are kind of forming here. It's not just, okay, we're just going to keep pumping out seasons of these spin-offs forever, right? To this point, it kind of felt a little like that. But now they have an end in sight. They have almost essentially like a date, basically, where this is going to end. And then we can kind of go forward and do something else, right? And does that something else look like a reunion series? I've talked about that in that video that I did on the future of the universe. I've seen a lot of other people, want this and talk about this as well. Maybe like a limited series type of thing, 6 to 10 episodes or something, where we get Rick, Daryl, Carol, Maggie, Michonne, everybody, comes back and actually reunites for once, and maybe they take down, the biggest bad of them all, and this is kind of the great finale to finish off the universe. So I think that is definitely, an option, right? I think that is definitely something where, you could see this kind of going towards, right? This kind of next step, if you will, in the universe is that, right? Or, on the other hand, like I talked in that video as well, is it time for, these spinoffs are going to end, or maybe even you have the reunion series, but then after that, maybe it's time to tell some new stories, some original stories within the same universe, perhaps, and give us that, right? I talked about something like Tales, right? Bringing back Tales for another season and doing some stories about characters' backstories, where they are now. I think that's just a really great concept, and something that is not that expensive to do. Not that, hard to do, I wouldn't think, right? If you just get an actor to come back for a single episode and yet still keep us fans satisfied and keep us kind of up to date with the universe and where these characters are now after the show, or even fill in some gaps of the show that we didn't see, right? So I think that's a really good idea. And then, yeah, I think we need some original stories with some new characters from this universe if you're going to, go that route with it. Now, of course, right? Like, it's hard to get that to catch on, right? It just is. And so I don't know. It's like I've said in that video. It really is an uncertain future to me. But at least now, I think this does add some certainty to where we're going now. It kind of has an end game. It has an end in sight now. 2026, most likely the last year for these spinoffs and this extension of the universe, if you will. And then it's time, right? The rubber's going to hit the road. Then it's time to figure out, to pivot, where are you going to go? What are you going to do next with these characters? Are you going to start another spinoff and then, do that? Or, again, do you have a reunion series, or do you have a new original concept like that? I've heard many people talk about the Telltale games, bringing in a character like Clementine and do a series about that. I don't think they have the rights to those games, or at least those characters, to use them. And that's AMC, obviously, I'm talking about. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I think they could, easily get those rights, though. Well, I shouldn't say easily, but I think they could get those rights if they wanted to do that. And I think that's actually a really promising idea, and something that they could still, again, stick to existing IP, with the universe and with the world and with characters that already exist, but still it would feel fresh to us viewers, especially those who haven't played all the way through those games, which is me. Like I have not, but I've heard some great things. I've seen some, clips and heard about the story beats and that, and it sounds really intriguing. So that's something I would be really excited to see. So anyways, lots of potential opportunities. So love to hear your guys' thoughts on, what you think, could be the next step, or what should be the next step for the universe, and what this news means, right? It has an end game in sight. Is this a good thing? Obviously, yeah. Are we going to miss Daryl Dixon? Are we going to miss, Maggie and Negan in Dead City? Yes, right? And the other thing here is, these spin-offs and this kind of era of The Walking Dead post the original series could have been better, right? Like, yes, okay, now we have an end game in sight with Daryl Dixon ending with season 4. But, like, and some of us are kind of consider this as good news, right? That this we have an end game, we have an end goal in sight, yet this could have been something that lasted for years, right? Like, this could have been, in theory at least, right? It could have been something that was really intriguing and kept fans invested. But just the way that these spinoffs have been handled have been pretty disappointing. I was a pretty big fan of Dead City Season 1. I think a bigger fan than most. Daryl Dixon Season 1 was pretty good. Again, maybe not, as big of a fan as some other people, but a pretty good season. And then season 2 of both shows, to me, were pretty disappointing, especially Daryl Dixon season 2. That was very, very disappointing for that season. And then, of course, The Ones Who Live had some great moments. The first episode was really, really great. And then the ending, of course, let us all down, and really was pretty disappointing, actually, considering the expectations, right? So it's just the way that they've decided to go with these spinoffs that I think has really hurt it. And again, the fans who are still watching these spinoffs are clearly hardcore Walking Dead fans, are invested. And I think you've even lost of many of them now because of the way that they've handled these spinoffs. So to me, this was kind of a mishandling, really, of this kind of post, original series era of these spinoffs. And that's kind of what we're seeing now. Daryl Dixon ending with season 4, this end game in sight. Yeah, maybe that's for the best, right? Like, maybe that is for the best, and maybe you do a reunion series or something, or a new original concept. To me, the biggest thing is that it makes sense. It's something that is the logical next step for this universe or for these characters. But the way these spin-offs were made, they didn't have that in mind. It was, what would be cool, and I talked about this on the channel before, but what would be cool? Okay, let's see Negan and Maggie together in New York City, right? What would be cool? Daryl Dixon somehow ends up in France, and then Carol joins him there, and then it's Carol and Daryl, right? What would be cool? Seeing Michonne and Rick, get back together, right? And that one, though, to be fair, it's kind of both in that one, right? Like, to me, that was the logical kind of next step for their story. Obviously, we wanted to see how that ended, how they found each other, how they got reunited. but it was also, the fact that they made it into the series after the fact and kind of built it all up, which was kind of felt a little cheap, right, in that way, where, again, that whole thing started as a trilogy of movies that we were promised, right? So anyways, especially with Dead City and Daryl Dixon, it feels like this was just a forced thing. It didn't feel like the natural next step in this universe, where that's where I think they went wrong here, and that's where I want to see them pivot after these spin-offs, which most likely will be at the end of 2026, next year, right, for these spin-offs and for this kind of mini era of The Walking Dead. That's what I want to see. I want to see the logical next step for Daryl. And again, if that means another spin-off for Daryl to see where he is next, okay, right? Like, I'd be willing to entertain that. Doesn't mean another show for Negan. Okay, if it logically makes sense as a next step and it's something that we're really interested in, okay. But if it also is the case that it doesn't really make sense logically to see Daryl again or to see, Meg and Negan again, at least in the short term, well then don't do that. Let's do something else, right? Let's do something else. So anyways, that's just my thought then on this kind of era post-original series of these spin-offs, and where we will go next, where I want to see this go next for the Walking Dead universe, because, I'm still invested in it, right? These spin-offs have kind of turned me off recently with the last 2 seasons of Daryl Dixon and Dead City, respectively, but I'm still invested enough that I would definitely check out something that sounds intriguing, that sounds exciting, and I think there's still a lot of fans that are like me that think that way. So anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts, right, on all of this stuff, Daryl Dixon ending with season 4, what this means for this kind of era post-original series, and what we're going to see next, with these shows and with the universe, and what's going to happen. So anyways, that'll just about do it, I guess, for this story. Maybe I went on a little too long about all that stuff. But anyways, hopefully the stream is all good here. Just going to check on that. Just going to check the chat as well. All good there. All right. So, yeah, I think that's about it. That's about all I had to say. That it was renewed for the 4th and final season. We went through the whole article here, talked about the trailer, season 3 trailer and all that, and the cast and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think that's it. For The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Again, maybe talked too much about it, but I think those are all my thoughts on that one for now. So, it's an interesting thing, right? I think it is big news. That it's going to be wrapped up. There is an end in sight. There is an end game, there for the series. I thought this was pretty big news, actually, that it is going to be ending, and that we got at least a confirmation of it. And it wasn't just, okay, season 4 is coming out. By the way, it's the final season, right? It does feel like, they've announced it a year ahead of time. And so now we're going to get that build up to that final season. So anyways, that'll just about do it for that one. So let's move on then to the next variety article. And this is a big one. So the most anticipated show of the year for me. It has been for the last 2 years, but of course, the show ended up kind of being maybe delayed, or at least the production was moved a little bit. So it is this year. It is 2025. The Vince Gilligan show on Apple TV Plus. I think it's been going by the name Wycaro 339 or something like that. But this is, it was very similar, right, to the situation with El Camino. What was that one called? I want to say a Greenbrier, right, or something like that. And people were like, "Oh, it's Greenbrier, right?" And this news broke of like this local newspaper in New Mexico that found them filming or something like that, and so it was leaked. In this way, it looks like Apple TV Plus got ahead of any local newspapers. So the official name of it is Pluribus. And so apparently this is a Latin word. It's, used, I think it's a pluribus e annum, or annum. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but anyways, it essentially means, when we all, come together, or when, plural things come together and kind of work as one towards a goal or something like that. And I think it's on American currency, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So anyways, lots of stuff that you could dive into, and I'm sure people will in the months ahead, into the title, what it means and what it can mean for the show. Nonetheless, just an interesting title, it's just kind of thought-provoking right away, to think about what that means. In terms of, if I had to guess, obviously the show, we on the teaser trailer that Apple TV Plus put out, the big slogan has been happiness is contagious. And with the plot details of the show now that we've gotten, it really seems like this is, like I said, kind of everyone coming together for the common good, right, to achieve things together, and perhaps that's to achieve happiness in this kind of sci-fi world that we're dealing with in this show. So anyways, it says, Pluribus, the first look at Vince Gilligan going sci-fi after Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul as the Apple TV Plus series sets fall release. And so there's a great picture here as well for the new series. I think this is the only picture I've been able to find. Like, this is the only first look that they've released. And then this teaser that we got. So I think that's still it. Even on the Apple Press website, where I go on a lot to get, pictures and media and stuff. I don't even think they have this picture on their press site. So they haven't even done a press release really formally of it. So hopefully the next, few days or obviously a few months that we have until it comes out, we'll get obviously more first looks and the official trailer as well. So the article states happiness is contagious. So that is kind of the slogan that is being used so far. That's the tagline for the mysterious new sci-fi series from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul mastermind Vince Gilligan, titled Pluribus. The show premieres with 2 episodes November 7th. Right, November 7th on Apple TV Plus. It says the 9-episode drama will conclude its first season on December 26th, and it has already been renewed for season 2. So this is something we knew a long time ago. Sony was trying to market this new show that Vince Gilligan had a concept for. Apple TV Plus ends up picking it up. And not only did they pick it up, they greenlit it for 2 seasons before a single frame had been shot on the thing. Probably before even all the scripts were finished for the first season. Would assume maybe like the pilot was finished. But other than that, probably they greenlit this thing with essentially like nothing done on it. They already put ahead 2 seasons in their order, and so yeah, easily no surprise there that it's already been renewed. So November 7th, yeah, I'm disappointed. I really thought that this would be sooner. I was thinking October at the latest. So it is a little disappointing for that, but of course that's just my own to my own disdain. Of course, obviously if the show needs that time, and it's going to be even better if it has a little more time, obviously with effects work and post production. Obviously, then I will take that. But to me, just being impatient, I wanted to see this thing as soon as possible. So that is a little unfortunate. That is November 7th. I mean, so we got August, September, October. We got like 3 months still until this comes out. And it feels like we waited essentially like 7 months for any news about the show. I did say it in my couple episodes ago, I think, on the channel, like, I'm starting to get just a little worried about this show because we haven't heard anything. And then like a week later, we get all this, the first news about it. So good timing there, I guess. But anyways, it will be 9 episodes, which is interesting as well. That seems about right? Like, I think that's pretty much in line with all these Apple shows, all these streaming shows. 9 episodes seems to be about the sweet spot. Of course, Breaking Bad was, 13 for most of its run. And so it will be a little different to see Vince Gilligan working with fewer episodes, perhaps. So Pluribus marks a reunion between Gilligan and 2-time Emmy nominee Rhea Seehorn, of course, who played Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul. On Pluribus, Seehorn is Carol, the most miserable person on Earth who must save the world from happiness. Details about the plot of the show are scant. So this though, like these 2 lines here in this article are more than we've known up to this point. This is new news to us. So she's playing Carol, the most miserable person on Earth who must save the world from happiness. So obviously, it's kind of this irony, of course, of her, saving the world from happiness. And of course, this is something that Vince Gilligan has talked about recently. I did a video on this covering, his speech to the WGA recently about, him wanting more good guys on TV and kind of embracing happiness, embracing heroes, embracing the good, essentially, in society and in the world. And so, obviously, this show, I think, is going to be satirizing that, at least from this line, it seems like, is going to be kind of satirizing that and saying, that she's going to stop, the world from being happy. Well, obviously, the main goal is to make the world happy. So, anyways, very interesting. But yeah, that is like the only details that we're getting, even though we've now got a first look and a teaser and everything. That's still all we have. So interesting, though, nonetheless. And of course, I don't know if I already stated it, but yeah, the article has said it's a sci-fi, right? Vince Gilligan said publicly, I think it was like on a Rich Eisen interview or something like that I watched. This was like already maybe 2 years ago, that he said it's kind of a cross between, what did he say? I think the Twilight Zone and the X-Files or something like that. But in the vein of Twilight Zone, where essentially it's our normal world and then something happens, an event happens, and then it's almost kind of this post-apocalyptic, the rest of the show, and then this is where we get the sci-fi elements that come in. So anyways, really interesting. That sounds so cool. Vince Gilligan working with that. It's going to be obviously a marked departure, right, from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, that world. It is not, even though Rhea Seehorn is coming back, it is not going to be like those shows and that world, though, of course, I mean, it's going to have some of those Vince Gilligan, elements to it, of course. I think if I had to guess, to be honest, I think it is going to be in the kind of range of the early episodes of Breaking Bad, where, I mean, if you watch, like, especially those first 3 episodes, I think, of Breaking Bad, I mean, it's essentially like a black comedy, right? Like, those first 3 episodes are just they're so funny. Like, they really are. And don't get me wrong, of course, all throughout the show, there are great comedic moments, some really funny moments, and, definitely elements of black comedy. But those first 3 episodes, like, there's very little, dramatic, elements to that. Maybe in the pilot, right, in some ways. But it's a black comedy, those first 3 episodes. So I think if I had to guess that this series is going to be a little in that vein. We're going to get more of that kind of black comedy, especially more than we saw in like the later seasons of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, where he's going to be playing on this. Because if you look at this line, right, the most miserable person on earth who must save the world from happiness, right? I mean, that's, it just naturally has a kind of comedic spin to it. So to me, it does feel like we might see that. And that's, I mean, Vince is amazing at that, right? Like, those first 3 episodes, again, hilarious, some of the stuff that he writes in there, and he wrote those first 3. So anyways, I think that's really promising. I think that could be really cool. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to see, what that actually is and if I'm right at all. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it is going to be very serious. I'm not sure. But that's what I would guess. So Apple TV Plus also announced additional casting for the series, which I've been really waiting for here. Starring along Seehorn are Carolina Wydra, who's from Sneaky Pete, Carlos Manuel Vesga, who's from Donde Tu Quieres, guest stars Miriam Shore and Samba Shoot and she's from Our Flag Means Death, he or she. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with them. So to be honest, I haven't really heard of any of these. I've maybe seen Carolina Wydra in Sneaky Pete. I think I maybe watched the pilot of that. So if she's in the pilot, maybe I've seen her. But anyway, so not really big known or well-known names, I should say, for this cast. I actually did expect, to recognize more names in this cast, but I don't know. I mean, that's, Bryan Cranston was obviously big for Breaking Bad, but Aaron Paul, not really. Anna Gunn, not really. Betsy Brandt, Dean Norris, right? A lot of those names, from Breaking Bad and even Better Call Saul. Rhea Seehorn, right? I mean, I don't think many people knew about her before then. So, really, interesting to see these names, and we'll have to see what they, offer, what their performances are like. And obviously, I mean, they've only listed 2 other main cast members, so there's going to be more than that, obviously, and so I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of holding back on some, more well-known names or bigger names that are in this show, and they're just kind of holding back on that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So it says, in a cryptic 30-second teaser for the series, a woman wearing pink scrubs licks donuts and places them back into a box labeled "Help Yourself" with a smiley face. So that essentially is the whole teaser. They did a countdown on Apple TV Plus, the YouTube channel, counting down the days, the minutes, the hours until this teaser dropped. And unfortunately, it literally is just like 35 seconds of this one little scene where we don't recognize the actress who's in it, and it's very disconnected obviously from anything that's happening in the show, but it is very interesting. I like it, right? It's very much hyping the show up a lot, and I think Apple TV Plus is giving it the credit and the attention that it deserves. Now, yeah, am I a little upset that this teaser really didn't show much, especially with a countdown, and I was literally anticipating this thing for like 48 hours before it dropped? Yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but I also really respect that they're really hyping this up, like in the same vein of some of the stuff that Stranger Things has done, right? Where they'll release like a first look and it's literally just 10 seconds of footage. And then the teaser, right there, the first teaser trailer came out and it's like more. And then they had that to-dum announcement or whatever, right? Even the names of the episodes, they did like a separate announcement teaser for that. And it's literally just text coming up on the screen telling you the episode titles. So it's really interesting to see that Apple TV Plus is almost doing like the same thing with this series. So, and obviously they know this is going to be big. This is going to get a lot of attention. Vince Gilligan is involved. So obviously it's not going to be at all similar to Stranger Things, especially not season 5, which is going to be perhaps, I'm guessing, probably the biggest thing since Game of Thrones this last season. But anyways, you get the point. They're trying to drum up that buzz about the show. So it says, Pluribus is produced by Sony Pictures Television. Big news here. Executive produced by Vince Gilligan alongside Gordon Smith. Awesome to hear that he's working on this show. Kind of, I thought that this was probably the case, but really great news that he's on this show, because to me, he's one of the best, writers on Better Call Saul, wrote some of the best episodes of the series, and is just a really great, writer. He's done some great stuff with Breaking Bad. I think he was a staff writer for the first few seasons, so really great. And then Alison Tadlock as well is coming on board, and I'm assuming all these, names are going to be writers on the show, right? And she did some great stuff with Better Call Saul. So just amazing that he's brought these guys, from Better Call Saul, from Breaking Bad, along for the ride for this new show. It's just awesome, man. Would I like to see, Thomas Schnauz here? Would I have liked to see, Maura Wally Beckett from Breaking Bad, or, who else? Jennifer Hutchison, any of these names, Sam Catlin, right? Yeah, probably, but are they busy at doing other stuff? Yes, probably also, but I'm especially wondering what Thomas Schnauz is going to do next, for sure. But anyways, Diane Mercer as well is involved, Alice Ozarki, and Jeff Frost. So it sounds like obviously they'll be the main writers. I'm assuming that is essentially the writer's room, what I just read. So really great to see those couple names that are recognized. And then it says, aside from the short-lived 2015 dramedy Battle Creek, which Gilligan co-created with David Shore, Pluribus marks Gilligan's first venture outside of the world of Breaking Bad in 17 years. Crazy, absolutely crazy. And so obviously this is a big show. This is huge that Vince Gilligan is coming back for something new. So anyway, so I did, the article goes on to say about him talking about the show, which I just said earlier. Basically that's post-apocalyptic and all this stuff. So anyways, definitely check out the teaser for it. Again, don't want to get your hopes up. It's not much, but a great first picture here of Rhea Seehorn in the show. So yeah, I'm so hyped for this, obviously. Easily my most anticipated thing for the rest of the year. November 7th, we have to wait quite a while yet, but I am really, really excited for this. To me, I don't see a world where this is just not great. Like, I just think this show, I have so much confidence in it. I think this is going to be amazing. So anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this new information on the Vince Gilligan series. This stuff is, just really exciting for me. Again, I said I was starting to get a little worried, but they've fully restored my confidence in this show. I'm fully on board and looking forward to it. So obviously we'll get something before November 7th. Probably, at least one trailer, at least maybe a teaser and then a trailer or something like that. But yeah, really looking forward to this. So definitely I'll be talking about it when we get some more news on the show as it comes out. All right. So anyways, great stuff there. Really excited to see that news today. All right. Let's check the stream here, make sure everything's good. Check the live chat here. Okay. Check the chat here. Okay. I think the lag is okay on the stream. Seems to be still going well. Quality is still good. All right. Perfect. Okay, so so that'll do it for the Vince Gilligan news there for that article, Pluribus, the new show. Really, really awesome stuff. All right. So next, just a couple stories here, and then we'll probably wrap it up. Like I said off the top, probably not too much to get into. Obviously, we had those two main topics, and then just these couple of things that I wanted to still cover here, especially this next one, which is very interesting to me. Not too surprising though, to say to be honest. So, all right. So this one is from TV Insider, and it is about Resident Alien. So kind of unfortunate news. Is it surprising? Not really. And to be honest, as somewhat of a disconnected fan, I would say at this point, of Resident Alien, I do think this is maybe for the best. And I've even seen this and heard this from avid fans of the show that are currently watching it right now. I'm fully caught up, fully invested. I've heard kind of the same sentiment. So anyways, this is the article from TV Insider. And so Resident Alien to end with season 4. All right, so it says, as Harry would say on Resident Alien, this is some bullshit. That's a really great line there. After 4 phenomenal seasons and endless accolades, the smartest sci-fi dramedy you should have been watching from the get-go will be ending its run at the end of this current season on USA Network. Just when Harry went and grew a soul, they have broken ours. So quote from Chris Sheridan here, the showrunner. I knew going into it that this was likely going to be our final season. Creatively, that was exciting because I knew we could spend the time wrapping up some storylines and driving toward an ending. I'm so proud of how good season 4 is, and especially proud that we were able to finish as strongly as we did, with a finale that is probably my favorite episode of the series. So this is great news, right? And so I'm going to come back to that in a minute here. So obviously it's based off the same comic book by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse. The series first bowed back in January of 2021 on Sci-Fi, with Tudyk in the title role of a misanthropic ET who took over the body of Patience, Colorado Dr. Henry Vanderspiegel after landing on Earth. So then they have also some pictures here of the series. And then it says, since then, Harry has evolved from the most inappropriate fish-out-of-water figure hell-bent on eradicating mankind to one of TV's greatest inhuman characters, thanks to the show's razor-sharp writing and Tudyk's nearly alien knack for physical comedy and heartfelt emotion. So definitely agree with that for sure. I mean, there's just something to the show that was so unique, at least in season 1, right? And I think there's still elements of it now, but especially in season 1, there was something that was so unique about this show. And I guess I'll talk about my experience with it, right? So I watched the first episode when it came out, the night of, I believe, and I could tell, that there was something here. I watched it was actually the trailer that really sold me here because I was not familiar with the comic. Alan Tudyk was a name that obviously I'd seen him in. I think Dodgeball was like one of the things I recognized him from. I'm a little ignorant, I guess, on his career because I know he's done a lot of other great things. But it was great to see him in a leading role. But this trailer, man, when it came out, it was like, damn, like this is really funny. Like, this actually looks pretty good, and this was also around a time where there were not a lot of shows on because of what was going on back in 2021, right? So I checked it out. I checked out the first episode, and then I found myself, I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. There's something here. This is really unique. It's really funny. Alan Tudyk is so great in this role, and so I ended up, watching the rest of season 1 week to week as it aired, and really, really enjoyed it. Now, season 2, to me, I had this weird kind of relationship with it, because on one hand, I really loved that they were expanding stuff, adding lore to the story, and some of the stuff they were doing with it. It just became a bigger world for these characters and this story. But then on the other side of it, I thought they got a little too in the weeds with it. They just got a little carried away with how big they got and how expanded the show had become, that they kind of lost a little bit of that season 1 magic to me, or that kind of uniqueness, that quirkiness. And it kind of evolved more into the lore and adding all these kind of more of the kind of cliche stuff of other alien stories and this kind of thing. So to me, then when I heard that season 3, had fewer episodes, it very much sounded like they were making a little more of a focused story in that season. I was very optimistic for that. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to the end of season 3, and that's where I still am now with the show. I've not seen, any of season 4, obviously, because I didn't get to the end of season 3. So I remember liking the beginning, of season 3. It did feel a little bit more focused. I'm not sure what it was, to be honest. Maybe it was I had a lot of other shows on at the time. But there was just something a little still missing there. I don't think they ever quite... to me, actually, the peak of the show was the start of season 2. I think the first few episodes of season 2 were the best episodes of the series. And then from there, I think, it just kind of went down and down and down. And then, season 3, I was already kind of feeling that a little bit, getting a little turned off of it. And unfortunately, that's just where I landed on it. And I have not watched season 4. But as they say here, 3 episodes remain of the season, which drop, of season 4 that is, which drop Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern on USA Network and Sci-Fi, and are available the following week on Peacock. Of the finale, Sheridan continued that it gives Resident Alien a very satisfying ending, while also leaving the door cracked open for any future this world may have. I can't wait for everyone to see it. So this is where I wanted to get back to the quotes from Chris Sheridan here, the showrunner. Chris Sheridan, right? That's his name, Chris Sheridan, the showrunner here. Is that they knew, right? Or he basically had a very good idea that this was going to be the final season. And because of that, they were able to write a very satisfying, as he says, very satisfying ending to the story and for these characters. And so that's just the best news ever, right? Especially with a show like this. And how lucky, this show really has been. If you look at the track record of Sci-Fi and their shows that are on there that they cancel, it's unbelievable. Like, the track record that they have is just abysmal. And it always is like their best shows, their most well-received shows with fans that they cancel, right? And they usually do not get 4 seasons. I know obviously they moved the show now to USA Network for this last season, but technically they never get 3 to 4 seasons to actually really go and catch on and really develop. And so they've gotten really lucky. I think it was also the timing of what was going on in 2021 and the last few years with there not being as many productions. Especially with Sci-Fi and USA Network, like they basically have nothing these days outside of Resident Alien. And so they got lucky here, and it's just really great to see. But they've also gotten lucky in the fact that they were able to get ahead of things here, figure out, okay, this is probably going to be our final season. Let's write something that is very satisfying and really wraps everything up in a very, great way, again, very satisfying way for fans. So this is something that not many other sci-fi series has or get to do, let alone, just series in general on TV get to do. And so I think this is really awesome news. It's really just the best possible thing that, of course, yeah, would we like to see more seasons? Though, I don't know. I think a part of me is kind of happy that it's done. I think, again, going into even season 3, I did kind of notice, like, okay, I think there was enough where season 1 ended where we could come back, tell more to this story. There was more to tell. There was more to see. But at the end of season 2, I didn't have that same feeling necessarily. And so I think, yeah, maybe we do, maybe some of us, wanted to see more seasons of the show. But I also think there's a good portion of us that are like, okay, maybe it is best, that we end here. We end on a satisfying note, as they've said, as Chris Sheridan says, and that's kind of where we'll be. That's kind of where we end off, and the show will go down as a very complete, very great show at the end of the day, instead of, okay, now we go into season 5 and maybe it kind of falls down, the quality again, and then it's really just this diminishing returns. It goes on too long, the regular drill for a lot of shows. So, I think this kind of, let's say this. I think it's bittersweet news, basically, that it's going to be canceled effectively or ending with season 4, but they're able to get ahead of it, give us a satisfying ending, and, kind of wrap everything up in a very complete manner. And it also means that the show, will drag on for seasons more, right? Beyond the point that it has to. So anyways, there also was an article just today that was kind of a follow-up to that. I just want to read a couple quotes from it because I thought there was actually some very interesting little things here that they've said. So this one's from Variety, this article here, and it says that Alice Wetterland, of course, who plays, what's her name? Darcy, right? I think it's Darcy in the show, if I remember correctly. It's been like a year since I've seen the show now. So she said she sounded off on the disarray of the TV industry on stage and told the packed crowd of Comic-Con fans that they deserve more of their show. So they did this panel on Comic-Con for the season, which I think the article states, like, ironically, this was their first time being at Comic-Con for a panel, and it ends up being their last season of the show. So it's kind of funny and kind of actually really sucks. But anyways, she says, quote, "We know that you guys deserve more than you're getting on a lot of shows and movies. The industry is in disarray and it's been disrupted," she said. "Thanks, tech. In a world where TV were normal, we could have way more. The only reason that's not true is not because anybody behind the show doesn't want it. It's because the way the industry works now. You guys deserve more of this." So that's a really fascinating quote that she had. I think that's really true. I don't think many people will end up seeing this because she's not a huge actress, obviously, and the Resident Alien is not a huge show. But this should be posted on like every billboard. This is a great quote from somebody that's in the industry working in it as an actress to say this. You guys deserve way more, than the industry is. You guys deserve more of this show. And she's right. I mean, even if you want to go into the way that Resident Alien has been treated, like I just got done saying, they've been very lucky. But they've also had those complications. Season 3 took a long time, the production of it. I think it was very much up in the air for season 4. It almost sounded like at one point that it was going to be canceled after season 3. And then the production for this season was kind of delayed. So, even Resident Alien went through that, the kind of inner workings of the industry kind of delaying things and giving them kind of problems. And so I think she's definitely, hinting at that, but she's also hinting at something else, which is the gaps between seasons, the lack of episodes, all of this stuff. So I just thought that was a really interesting quote that she said. Really, really cool to see somebody say that. She says you guys deserve more of this. So talking about Resident Alien, but also just TV in general. Sheridan said a movie continuation of the show seems plausible in the future, but doesn't have any plans for it right now. And so we'll just end off with this quote here. "There won't be another season of the show right now. I do hope for a movie down the road. I think that's a plausible thing and that USA does do. No time soon. It's not like I have ideas, but I think that's something that could happen. I don't know about another season, but the industry is always changing. Who knows?" So a good kind of note to end off then for this story of Resident Alien. Maybe a movie down the road. Maybe that's something that happens. Most likely not another season of the show. And I think this show would be perfect in terms of just a movie down the road, in 2 to 3 years from now or something. They want to capitalize on Resident Alien. Maybe it goes to a streaming service or on Peacock, and maybe it really, pops, and maybe they want to, take advantage of that opportunity, kind of pounce on it, on that IP, and make something. Maybe they do a movie of it. I'm down for that. I think that could be really cool. And so that's obviously something, Sheridan's open to and thinks the network might be open to. But other than that, this might be the end of Resident Alien. So anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this news. Of course, if you would be down for something like that, like a movie in the future. Are you satisfied with this being the last season? And it sounds like the finale is very much designed in that way. So love to hear your guys' thoughts on this one as always. All right. So I'll just do it then for my thoughts on the Resident Alien news. Really interesting articles here for that one. And then lastly, our last topic or our last news topic here for the show. Let me just check the stream here. Hopefully everything's still good with it. Check the article here. Check the chat as well. All right. Awesome. All right. So last one here is just, actually, let me see here. Everything's good there. Okay, awesome. So let me just check the thing here for Deadline article, and it is the Owen Wilson golf comedy Stick is renewed for season 2 by Apple. So Apple TV Plus has picked up a second season of Stick. The renewal coincides with a sports comedy starring Owen Wilson dropping its season 1 finale on the streamer today. Confirmed to return for season 2 is the main cast that includes Wilson as Price Cahill, Peter Dager as Santi, Mark Maron as Price's friend Mitz, Mariana Trevino as Santi's mom Elena, and Lily Kay as bartender turned caddy Zero. In the mold of Apple TV Plus hit Ted Lasso, Stick, created by Jason Keller, is a feel-good sports comedy about a found family and the relationship set within the world of golf. Wilson stars as Price, an over-the-hill ex-pro golfer whose career was derailed prematurely 20 years ago. In season 1, after the collapse of his marriage and while working at an Indiana sporting goods store, Price hedges his bets and future entirely on a troubled 17-year-old golf phenom named Santi. Since its June 4th debut, Stick has been regularly topping Apple TV Plus's daily top 10 rankings. And then the season 1 finale hints at that next chapter. In an interview with Deadline, Keller discusses where the story might go in season 2 and whether the episode's final shot tees up a new dynamic between Price and Santi. And so I guess he says here with Deadline, quote, "I'm inspired and humbled by the audience reaction to Stick, and I'm thrilled to be making a second season with this magical cast led by the incomparable Owen Wilson and the wonderful creative team at Apple TV Plus. It's a joy to be able to continue this story. Most importantly, however, this season 2 order will provide me with an undeniable excuse to play even more golf. Thank you, Apple TV Plus." So that's pretty funny there. Owen Wilson said, "I think we all had a great time making it. It's really nice to see the show connecting with people and to know that we get a chance to continue the story." So this is all interesting news. Stick, I still have not got around to watching. Unfortunately, I really do plan on, at least checking out the first couple episodes. I'm going to do that very soon. It's just one that I kind of fell behind on at first. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Ted Lasso. I've only tried out the first few episodes of it, and it didn't really work for me as much as maybe some other people. And so hearing the comparisons to Ted Lasso and just the whole idea of feel good, those series don't usually appeal to me as much. I want to see Owen Wilson more in what I know him for, which is, comedies like Wedding Crashers, and this kind of thing. And I think it's pretty obvious that the show is not at all that. And maybe we won't see Owen Wilson in that vein again. Maybe that era is just over. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's probably the case. So anyways, I would love to see this, show. And I think this is interesting news, though, because I didn't hear, a ton of buzz about this show, just in terms of the conversations about it, the discussions. I haven't seen a lot, but it does sound like the ratings have been pretty good for Apple TV Plus on their streaming service there. And obviously, Ted Lasso, huge show, got a lot of buzz in that kind of feel-good vein. And so I have no, surprise, especially that it's on the same platform, that somebody, would want more of what Ted Lasso gave them. And then they have this, series Stick with Owen Wilson as kind of an option for that. So again, I'm definitely going to check this one out, kind of see what I think of it for sure, see if it's up my alley, even though maybe Ted Lasso wasn't as much. I do love Owen Wilson, obviously, so I am looking forward to see him in this. And it is funny that Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, great comedic duo from films like Wedding Crashers, Internship, and some others, both have Apple TV Plus comedies now, and they've both been renewed for a second season with Bad Monkey and this one Stick. So anyways, I just thought it was interesting news. A little surprising that it got renewed, especially so fast. I mean, the season 1 finale was just coming out today or tomorrow, I think. So yeah, some really great news here for Stick. And definitely even more worth checking out because now they're getting another season, and I'll have to catch up and check that one out when it comes out. So anyways, just wanted to kind of cover this one. I thought it was interesting that we're getting a second season of Stick. So anyways, that'll just about do it then for my thoughts on my news topics here. I think we covered everything. We talked about the Daryl Dixon stuff that I write, Vince Gilligan show, Resident Alien, and then talked about the Owen Wilson comedy show. So anyways, I think that'll just about do it. So just a last kind of call for any comments or something like that in the chat. Anything, any other discussion points. That would be basically it. That's I think we cover basically everything. So yeah, we'll just give it another minute or so, and then we'll probably take off and end the episode here. But anyways, like I've said, next week, I think it's on Thursday or Friday, that Chief of War with Jason Momoa comes out. So definitely highly anticipating, actually, that show. I think it's going to be kind of the first show back to me in a couple months where we've had a new show that I'm really interested in that's going to be airing. So I am really looking forward to that. We'll definitely, I'll definitely be watching the first, I think, couple episodes come out on the Friday or Thursday. And then I'll definitely do a review for it here on Let's Talk Television. I'll talk about the show. And then pretty much whatever other news, comes up that happens to kind of come up, and be, worth discussing basically on the show here. So anyways, all right. So that looks like that's about it for this one. So we'll just about wrap it up. I'll take one last look at the chat here. If we're not lagging too much. Hopefully we're right at the end. All right, I think everything's good. But anyways, that'll just about do it then for Let's Talk Television this week. So like I said, hopefully we'll be back next week then, or I guess technically like 10 days or 8 days from now, whatever it is. Talk about Chief of War and some other news that comes up. But yeah, so anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts on all the stuff I discussed today, but that'll just about do it. So take care, everyone. Have a good night.